share my screen. Can you see my screen well?
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my work at EVA 2021. My name is Ladan Bahmani, and I'm assistant professor of graphic design at Illinois State University. In this presentation, I would like to share two interactive installations I've done in years 2017 and 2020. Both installations offer opportunities to discuss ideas such as homogeneity and diversity, as well as the role of technology in shaping expectations and perspectives using interactivity and play. The first installation is inspired by the differences between the content of images taken by myself versus images shown on Google search. This work uses color metaphorically to compare the differences between the photos of a country one encounters online and a more personal experience of the same country. I was born and raised in Iran, and I've been living in the United States for over a decade. In the past years and during my travels, I captured various simple photos from a few different towns and places I visited in Iran. Pictures varied from being historical architectures, tiles and handcrafts, to natural scenes and landscapes. And these are some of the pictures that appear immediately when I search the word Iran in Google. In Toward the Philosophy of Photography, Willem Flusser states that images are mediations between the world and human beings. Human beings exist. That means the world is not immediately accessible to them, and therefore images are needed to make it comprehensible. However, as soon as this happens, images come between the world and human beings. They're supposed to be maps, but they turn into screens. Instead of representing the world, they obscure it. Images as mediators between the world and the individuals create a schema within us of a place. Schema is a mental structure which contains general expectations and knowledge of the world. This may include general expectations about people, social roles, events, and how to behave in certain situations. This installation included interactive projection, which gradually changed with the participants' word entries. A pedestal which carried a keyboard was placed in the center of the space, facing the wall with a projection. The projection consisted of colors extracted from two different resources. Background colors, 26 colors, came from the first 20 images when the word Iran was searched on Google in early February 2020, right before the pandemic hit the United States. The colors were distributed by the percentage used in the pictures. Another set of colors were presented upon typing on the keyboard by the participants. These colors were extracted from 20 photos I took during my visit to Iran in years 2015 and 2018. Each letter key on the keyboard was associated with a color. The colors were assigned to the keys based on the frequency of those colors used in the photos and the frequency of letters used in English. For example, letter E is the most frequently used letter in English, and this color that you see here is the most frequently used color in my photos. Participants were able to type on the keyboard, and by hitting the return key, the composition was saved and the initial projection was refreshed. Using processing software, which we talked about just now, the participants were able to constantly change the installation with their input. These are some of the entries. Various compositions were made during the 2 weeks that the installation was up. The gallery shut down after the COVID-19 pandemic started in the United States. Despite the unexpected closure, I was able to save about 400 entries by the participants. Prior to this installation in 2017, I installed another interactive projection with a similar setup, a pedestal, a keyboard, and a projector. The piece was inspired by swipe texting on a phone keyboard. While some people type letter by letter, others use swipe texting. In this feature available on certain phones, various linear compositions are drawn as the users connect letters on the keyboard to type in a word. The path that connects the letters together disappears. Therefore, when the users are done writing a word, no path shows on the keyboard phone, making the keyboard fresh for the next word. Using processing, I designed a computational system that would respond as participant type words using the computer keyboard that I provided. Each letter on the keyboard plotted a point that was connected to the other letters or points. Therefore, each word became a map of plotted points. As participants type in the keyboard, the corresponding shape would appear on the wall. By saving each entry, the system in fact captured an after image of a path of interaction that would otherwise be lost. The system allowed a pause in the continuum of time. It displayed the shape until the spacebar was pressed. Similar to the previous project, this interactive projection allowed the audience to participate in the installation and change it with their input. The static installation then became adaptable and dependent on the responses. In recent years, a new form of written language has entered the Persian or Farsi language, which is called Finglish. That means Farsi in English. This form of writing uses the English alphabet to write Persian words. This process of Romanizing the Persian language is called transliteration, defined in the Oxford English Dictionary as write or print a letter or word using the closest corresponding letters of a different alphabet or language. A simple example of this writing would be the way Persian or any other non-Latin proper name is written in English. In the installation, typing words using the keyboard allowed the participants to enter any word in English, as well as any other language that could be transliterated to Latin letters. If different words from various languages were seen next to each other within the system, one could not distinguish their difference as they formally seemed to belong to the similar system. The keyboard translated the words in the same way for a different language, creating forms equally mysterious and ambiguous in both languages. This installation documented the hidden patterns and visual forms as different languages move between platforms. It questioned the possibility or impossibility, as well as losses and gains of creation of hybrid forms through technology. The dynamic forms made by documenting one's interaction with a keyboard suggested a linkage between human languages. Participants, regardless of their language, could interact with the piece and create consistent forms. The translatability of participants' interaction with the keyboard into one visual language could be an indication of the possibility of a universal language through technological interventions. Participants, regardless of their language, were able to use the system and receive a formally consistent result. The problem that lied within the system was that specific placement of the English letters in the keyboard determined the path between the letters and the final shape it created. Therefore, this interactive piece metaphorically suggests the ways Western forms and designs are currently determining and controlling visual and textual communication. Meredith Davis in the graphic design theory elaborated on one of the most famous aphorisms of the media theorist Marshall McLuhan in the context of media culture. The medium is the message, which was first presented in McLuhan's reportive project in Understanding New Media, refers to how media change the world around them by effects that supersede the very contents they seek to communicate. The impact of television and how we see the world, said McLuhan, is bigger than the content of any single program. In his book, The Essential McLuhan, he mentions the message of any medium or technology is the change of scale or pace or pattern that it produces into human affairs. The railway did not introduce movement or transportation or wheel or road into human society. It accelerated and enlarged the scale of previous human functions, creating totally new kinds of cities and new kinds of work and leisure. McLuhan's suggestions on the impact of technological interventions is related to what these two installations aim to explore. and discuss. The impact of technological mediation in our everyday communication and interaction is bigger and perhaps different than what might be noticed. Technologically mediated interactions and communication could create both inclusivity and homogeneity at the same time. It can build schemas and generate perspectives. In beyond language installation, people with any language could participate and translate their entries into consistent shapes. The way the keyboard translated the words into undecipherable shapes is a representational metaphor for the possibility of a universal, inclusive language made through technological interventions. At the same time, the keyboard with English letters dictates the way each form is made. Consequently, this installation suggests how English language and Western design is dominating our communication. Since our current technologically mediated communication moves our culture and societies toward homogeny, it is important to consider various perspectives in designing technological systems. In Who Is We installation, the work uses color metaphorically to compare the differences between photos of a country one encounters online and a more personal experience of the same place. It poetically presents the way a place is being shown online in an immediate search and the way these images shape one's understanding of a place. Even though several search engines offer tabs to search various images, the first page of the image search usually shows images from the most current incidents in a country. These images become the first impressions, which consequently shape one's understanding of a place. In this installation, the same color square pixels found in the personal pictures are used once again to recreate the compositions. The two installations intend to create a space for participants to interact with a system that is limited to simple shapes and lines. Beyond language installation translates words and documents and interaction into connected lines. Who Is We installation abstracts photos and allows participants to play with pixels extracted from personal photos to interrupt and add a personal touch to the colors extracted from the online images. Both installations offer space for the participants to play and perhaps think about their daily interactions that shape their worldviews and perspectives. While the compositions made by the participants are often random, I hope the interactions stimulate discussions about the role of technology in creating diversity or homogeny and schemas. In future work, I hope to direct these interactions more with using prompts and make them more accessible by bringing them into an online environment. Thank you.
Well,